to another episode of Straight Talk. Today on Straight Talk, we are talking to one of Cameroon's finest. In fact, she's one of Africa's finest. Known for her work with women and people living with disabilities, she is a fighter for inclusion across the globe. Please join me to welcome Mussa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Such an honor to be on Straight Talk.
Thank you. We finally had you. You guys are going to trouble I went through because she's so busy. Right. Thank you so much. You're welcome. How are you feeling?
Great. I'm excited to be here with you, and I've told you this before many times. I love what you're doing with Straight Talk, and congratulations for this platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I like her talk for herself. Who is Comfort Mussa?
Amongst many other things, I would say Comfort Mussa is an advocate for human rights, women's rights, is included human rights, of course, and the rights of persons with disabilities. And I'm a journalist, very passionate about stories that expose social injustice.
Right. So I knew that that's what you're going to say. I mean, there's many things that she would have said, but she didn't say it. That's the one comfort that you might want to discover. Comfort is very modest. But so I had this backup just in case you don't mention those ones. And very needs to read a few things. This is a few of the awards that you have as a result of the work that you do. In 2010, you were awarded the Excellence for Youth Leadership Academy here in Cameroon. I'm going to fast forward to, TV schooling, right? Because there are many. So, Conversation awarded you an award in 2015 as the best online journalist here in Cameroon. That was sometime in 2015. Women Deliver. Oh my God, do you guys know Women Deliver? They gave an award. That's the big.
That was a humbling one for me.
Oh, I can imagine. So you got an award for excellence in journalism and advocacy for women's rights. And then Conversation also gave you an award. Conversation is the Cameroon Association for English-speaking journalists here in Cameroon. Now, fast forward to 2018, the Guardian Post gave you an award for gender champion here in Cameroon. How did all of this begin?
It all began with service. And my life has had a lot of decorations and recognitions, which I didn't set out looking for. So I set out just being this kid in secondary school who loved literature, and I excelled in literature. And so at the end of the year, I would have like best prize literature and best prize, And so from secondary school up to date, I've had the privilege of being recognized for the things that I do, and I call it a privilege because there are many other people doing a lot of great work, and they don't always get that privilege of being recognized. So it's a privilege that started with genuine passion and genuine love. For me, it's love for words, love for literature, love for writing and stories. That has brought a lot of awards nationally and internationally for journalism. And for advocacy as well, it's the passion. I do what I do, and sometimes people recognize it and recognize it with an award or honorary mention. So, bottom line is service and passion.
Service and passion. Two very important things that I'd like you to elaborate on a little bit. In a world that is full of so many challenges, people wanting to really do what they're passionate about, or some people even struggling to find that purpose. How did you find the purpose and the passion? How did you know that this was it?
Now I could talk forever because I love talking about purpose, and most of the time on social media you will see me with the hashtag purpose-driven life because that's the best life. And it came from me asking myself the question, why am I here? Why do I have what I have? My giftings, my talents, my resources, my privileges. We all have privileges at different levels. We all have resources. We all have gifts that are different from person to person. And when you understand why you have these gifts, you can serve better. And so it was me asking myself, why am I here? What can I do with what I have to make life better for other people? Because I believe that our gifts and the blessings we have so that we can share with others.
That's true.
And I started asking myself this question very early in life. And I think it's thanks to the books I was exposed to. I always say I was raised on books, and I had more books than I had shoes. And my dad raised me on books, and I love books. And it's, from reading that I was able to ask myself questions that probably other youth were not asking. And so I would look into myself and ask myself, what can I do differently or better than other people? Or maybe it's writing. Then I started writing short plays. If you have a gift of writing, then maybe you have to bless people with your stories.
Right.
And so purpose-driven life for me started with asking myself these questions, and I challenge youth everywhere I go to find their purpose, discover their purpose, acknowledge what they are blessed with, and use it for service.
Right. Just in that same life, you are the founder of Sisters Game 237. Tell us about that. Where did that come from?
It came from a problem. You talked about many people having challenges and they can't live the lives, they want to live for themselves. I learned somewhere that problems gravitate towards the solution. So each time I'm faced with a problem, somehow I want to look around me and find out if the solution is around me. When I started out as a journalist, that was like 13 years ago, when I started out my journalism career, at the radio, I was told to read the horoscope and do cooking time and things, if you're doing cooking time and horoscope on radio, I'm not saying what you're doing is less important, but I was just saying this is not what I wanted to do as a journalist, and I was asked to do this because my colleagues at the time told me I had a good radio voice. Oh, okay, but I want to do more. I want to talk politics. I want to talk about the hard stuff. And in media, there is, at the time, 13 years ago, mainstream media in Cameroon, there was not so much room for women to get into politics and do economic stories and do hard stories. We were pushed to do the soft stories because you had a voice and personality for it, and so I wanted a space where I could tell the stories that I wanted to tell, and also the space where women could tell the stories they wanted to tell. Beyond radio, there are a lot of things I couldn't say publicly because of how people would respond to it, or how people would question me, or how people would look at me, because silence was prescribed for many women. This is the culture and the context we've grown in, but I questioned that. And I didn't have the liberty I wanted on radio. I started reporting for many different platforms, even internationally, and times I would pitch a story and they would not let me, editorial lines would not let me report on it the way I wanted to. So I started Sister Speak, and it's two things. Sister means every woman, and when I call women sister, it's because I feel there's a platform for equality for women, and speak is your voice. And so Sister Speak 237 was born out of this desire to have women discuss their issues freely, and it started out as a blog, and then I discovered having a voice is not enough. Women need the tools and the skills to communicate the issues that are important to them. So we started doing trainings and advocacy, to create space for women to speak beyond Sister Speak. And since 2014, it's been a journey that just keeps unfolding to bigger aspects of what we're able to do with our voices.
Amazing. Now you mentioned something about the media, which is something I have spoken about along the years. 13 years as a journalist, do you feel that the media space is accommodating enough for women to tell their stories, to feel free to express themselves? Do you feel that the media space as it is accommodating?
When you ask me if it's accommodating, it pushes me to think about permission. Is it accommodating? Is there space for you? Do you have permission to be here? And many people feel like, oh, there's no space for me, so I can't get in. When I started out, it wasn't accommodating. So for sports, they would tell you, no, you can't do this because you're a woman. You can't go to this place because you're a woman. And so there was no space. But what I tell younger journalists and other women is stop asking for permission. So I don't even ask myself if there is space. I go in there, you need to break something. Just push. No, just push. If you know you're passionate about economic reporting,
you're passionate about sports, do not let anyone tell you there's no space here for you. Create your space. And you know, the beauty of evolution is that today we have the internet.
Right.
I stopped waiting for people to create a column for me at the radio, and I started Sis to Speak, and we've been able to tell stories that, you know, otherwise we would never have had them on mainstream media. And so we created a space. And so where there is no space for you, break through. If you cannot break through, create your space. I mean, here we are with Straight Talk, thanks to the internet. And so stop asking for permission, stop seeking validation. You will not always have it. So create your space. And if you can, break down some walls. I talk about the glass ceiling. If you can push through and...
So let me talk about something that I feel is very important to you, which you used to get ahead. Something about 2018, you made a campaign on social media.
Stop sexual harassment in the workplace.
Sexual harassment.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Again, problems gravitate towards their solutions. Most of the things I do are things that I have seen a problem and I want to be part of the solution. So most of my advocacy is centered around me wanting to be part of the change. As a female journalist, you would, if you talk with 10 female journalists, at least 6 will tell you there's been an element of sexual harassment in the workplace. And this is not limited to female journalists, go to any other profession. But I think more so with female journalists. And so we would have these things where maybe in a little WhatsApp groups or in a side talk, we'll talk about this is what the boss did to me, this is what the colleague did to me, and we'll talk about it in whispers because we were ashamed to talk about it, or we didn't have the tools to talk about it, or we were scared of losing our jobs if we talked about it. And man, I got tired with, we shouldn't keep up with this. And I had experienced sexual harassment as a journalist. I know many colleagues who have experienced sexual harassment, some to worse degrees, some have had to quit school, some have had to lose their jobs. And so, in my style of we're not seeking validation, we're not seeking permission, let's do this. And it wasn't me, it wasn't a one-man show. We had over 20 female journalists, we had you too. I mean, we came together and you saw what the process was. It was us saying we're tired. But you know, I made a call on my Facebook post. I'm like, I'm sick and tired. If there's any other woman who is sick and tired of being harassed and you want to talk about it, come out. And then we came together, we had a platform, we planned, we had a strategy which we implemented, and it yielded fruits because we wrote to all state universities where they have journalism programs to tell them this is what sexual harassment is in case you don't know what it is. And this is how it affects women or the men who are being harassed in your programs, and this is what you can do to stop it. At this stage, we're doing sensitization. In the next stage, we're going to name and shame. And we did same with radio stations, and together with other female journalists, we even visited some media houses and spoke with the colleagues. And so it generated a buzz. Many people talked about it in and out of Cameroon. And I feel that somehow there was a measure of success because we heard from some universities. They called us. And since then, something interesting is how the topic comes up repeatedly in journalism circles. Last year, during the Kamasesh national elections, both presidential aspirants had it in their campaign manifesto, creating an enabling space for women. And I was like, yeah, they're beginning to get it, and it's on the agenda. We've set an agenda for ourselves. Now people can talk about it, people can look out, for where they have these abuses, and hopefully more women can speak out.
Right. Hopefully more women can speak out. Listeners, maybe if you're just joining us, this is Straight Talk, and my guest on the program today is Mussa. What has been the backlash?
Oh, the backlash. The backlash, I laugh because it was expected. I mean, I've been an advocate in Cameroon long enough to know that each time you speak up for yourself, people will come at you, And so I have experienced backlash at different levels, worse levels. I've been threatened, and I mean, there's been a lot. And over the years, I've developed thick skin, and I've known this is to be expected. And if you need to create change, some people will be uncomfortable, but when they see the truth, they will come on board. And if they don't see the truth, too bad for them. And so there was a backlash. People wrote back and said, "Oh, called us names." But because we expected it and we knew how to take care of it, we moved on. And so the backlash for me was an insignificant part of it.
Right.
Because many more people, especially I have many male journalists who have had these conversations with me and like, please really tell me, what can we do better? And we've had the conversations, we've visited media houses, and even at the level of journalism associations, it's now a topical thing.
Yeah,
And
and
so
I was going to ask you the role of the male journalist in all of this, because I think they play a critical role in engineering. I'm sure most of them are computers. So have you had a lot of support from them?
Well, yes, I would say it's a lot of support, but a lot of openness to talk about this. Because when we started, remember that many people were defensive. If they felt like we were attacking something. But now we're saying, look, going forward, there is no way you're going to get away with this. So it's better you know, get on the right side of history. And so there are many colleagues that are asking us, really, what can we do differently? And that's why we sent out the letters. We said, sometimes you do this and you don't know it's harassment because you've been doing it and it's normal. But it's no more normal for you to tell a colleague, if you don't sleep with me, you'll work on the night shift for the rest of the year and things like that. And so there is more openness. There is still some little resistance because of how normalized it is, but there is more openness, and also more female journalists are talking about it and not getting shamed because of the support they're getting from the women. So there is
Sister
more
Speak.
openness.
Sister Speak. Kumi, thank you so much for coming. What would be your last words to a girl from Mabana who is watching you and who really wants to be a journalist, writer, contributor? What would you say to her?
I would tell her the same thing I was told when I was young, much younger. I would tell her, you're beautiful and you're enough. Because for many girls, even me growing up, we struggled with wanting to be enough. Oh, you're not beautiful enough, you're too dark, you're too fat, you're too short, your hair's too strong. And so there's a lot of things that bring insecurities. And so we're growing up, instead of really discovering who we are, we grow up feeling inadequate and we struggle to be enough. And I want to tell any young girl who's listening to me that you are enough, even if you have one arm, or you're blind and you can only hear my voice, or you're from Mabanda, or from a place where there are no roads and you're from a poor family, whatever, you are enough. Let's start from there. You are enough. And your circumstances notwithstanding, you can become anything. And I tell you with all humility, some of the places I've been to and some of the things I have encountered in life and some of the things I have touched in life, each time something too big happens to me, I call my younger sister and I cry. And I call my friends and I cry. For me, it's tears of joy, like who would have imagined? And so for any young girl listening to me, you are enough. Find your purpose, live a purpose-driven life, and things will fall to you. Like one of my favorite scriptures is the lines have fallen onto me in pleasant places. I'm not saying your life will not have challenges or they will not have struggles, but when you're living a purpose-driven life and you're focused and you're confident, good things will happen.
You're enough. High five for me. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
It
for
was our
having me.
pleasure. This is Comfort Mussa. You can look her up on Facebook and Instagram, Comfort Mussa. That's all we had time for. We know that we can talk with Kumi all day, but that's all we had time for. However, the conversation continues in the comment section. You want to ask her questions, you want to ask her how she's going on with her work, with women and with people with disabilities, on the comment section. And you can follow us on all our social media platforms. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching.